I can't believe these people. It's Brock Lesnar going to AEW. Why would Brock Lesnar go to AEW? Could somebody explain that to me? Outside of a huge check from Tony Khan's father, could someone give me a reason why Brock Lesnar would go to AEW? He doesn't fit their style of wrestling. He's very selective about who he works with. I just can't physically sit here and say I picture Brock Lesnar in AEW. And for the people that have the audacity to say TNA, isn't TNA just getting its footing now and they've struggled to keep the lights on for the last 7 to 8 years? And we say that? UFC? What does Brock Lesnar have left in a UFC career? Obviously, him being a free agent is big news because it's Brock Lesnar. MAURO Ranallo also has come to terms with his release in WWE. That's a long story, but we'll get into both of those and maybe another topic that I have yet to research. But we're going to talk about and dive into both of these. You're going to stay right here, hit the like button, subscribe, and go nowhere else. This is big enough to bring back news. Now, it's been quite a while since we've actually sat and talked about legitimate news in and around. We've done a lot of reviews and pay-per-views, all different kinds of things going in and around. We got the NBA playoffs going on, the NHL playoffs going on, baseball, the Yankees are doing terrible. We have all these things going on, but we got some big news in the wrestling community. That big news is Brock Lesnar is a free agent and no longer is contracted under WWE. And it has left the community in uproar, thinking that Brock Lesnar could do anything from return to UFC to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. We also have news on MAURO Ranallo, who has come to his terms of a release in WWE, and they have agreed to mutually part ways. That is very frustrating because MAURO Ranallo was one of the best commentators. I honestly could sit here and tell you he probably was the best commentator since Jim Ross. That's my opinion. And speaking of commentators, we have one coming aboard. Wade Barrett has potentially negotiating a full-term contract with WWE to be an NXT announcer. And let me tell you something about Wade Barrett. I love Wade Barrett. And I thought that Wade Barrett, when he was in his prime, was underutilized like a mother. And he was not given the right things. He took every character that he had and he owned it. Bad News Barrett was great. And hopefully this could lead to some type of in-ring return at some point for Wade Barrett. But for right now, it's just strictly on commentary. But we're going to kick things off talking about the biggest news. Probably enough news to where this could be the only article I talk about. But I try to have a genuine 3 articles or so I do before I go over any type of news. The first thing we're going to talk about is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar has had a very weird WWE contract where he has a scheduled number of appearances to the point where he was Universal Champion and he was not even on TV at all. I thought that was very poor. Brock Lesnar clearly at this point in his career only cares about money. I don't think Brock Lesnar feels like he owes loyalty to anywhere, and I think that if AEW were to give Brock Lesnar $10+ million, I think he would take his way to AEW, but here's the problem is that that's not going to happen. It has nothing to do with the fact that AEW doesn't have the money. It has to do with the fact that I don't think Brock Lesnar wants to go to AEW. I think Brock Lesnar wants to try to get more money from his contract with WWE right now. I don't think that he has a genuine interest in going anywhere else. He is a free agent. Now, one of the things that's ironic with this is the fact that Paul Heyman came on SmackDown and now is with Roman Reigns. So if Brock Lesnar were to get a type of contract with WWE and he were to come back to WWE, what exactly would he do? Who would he be with? Would Brock Lesnar without Paul Heyman is just peanut butter without jelly. It just can't happen. ESPN has an article here. It says Brock Lesnar's on the open market. One of the biggest combat sports stars of this generation is no longer under contract with WWE, and WWE is very stingy. If your contract ends, they will make sure that you are wiped off of the walls of WWE history as soon as possible. One of the ways that people had found this out is that he was no longer under contract, and people had gone to WWE Shop and found 0 merchandise for Brock Lesnar. Now, if you know anything about Brock Lesnar, he has about 85 different thousand things on WWE Shop, and it was all wiped. People said that they had gone to their bios, and they had still found Brock Lesnar under a WWE Superstars on the list. But his merchandise was pulled from the online store, and that's usually an indication that something is not good. It could have been an error, but I don't think that was the case. We've been down this road before. Lesnar, former UFC heavyweight champion, is a master at playing WWE and UFC against one another. As recently as last year, there was a chance Lesnar could have returned to the octagon in a heavyweight title bout against Daniel Cormier. I don't really know what Brock Lesnar can do in the octagon at this point in his career. The reason why Brock Lesnar has these type of negotiations is because there is nobody that has ever been like Brock Lesnar. There is no Brock Lesnar. Goldberg was an alternate that was, to be honest, couldn't light a candle to Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is a huge draw, and it's hard nowadays to find guys that are draws consistently. If Brock Lesnar were to make the decision to go somewhere else, which I don't see happening, if he were to make the decision to go somewhere else, wherever he went, he would automatically draw. I think if it's not going to happen, but if he had gone to AEW, I think Brock Lesnar personally, that is the last thing that WWE wants. They do not want their chosen Brock Lesnar to go to AEW because, again, Chris Jericho did it. All these other guys are starting to do it. The last thing they want is that. But I think it would actually be good because it would provide WWE with, hey, there's a wrestling promotion that's going to do better than us, and there's a wrestling promotion that's pulling all the right triggers. We have to consult better television, and I think that's something that we all want. Promotion WWE, they have him listed here at all the possible situations. I think in the long likeliness, I think that WWE and Brock Lesnar will come up with some kind of deal, and I think Brock Lesnar will stay put. ESPN has a chance here with WWE. They say a 45% chance Lesnar signs with WWE. I would love to know the analytical people that sit down and break down these type of things. I don't know who is getting paid to say, let's see, yeah, 45%. I'm not quite sure who actually is responsible for coming up with that calculation. But in all honesty, it's probably a legit one. I think that in all honesty, I think he stays put. I just think he's milking his contract. He might entertain the idea of going to AEW to Vince McMahon to get under his trigger and get more money, or going to UFC. One thing I should know is that he better stay out of Jon Jones' way. I have no doubts about what Lesnar could do as a UFC competitor, but I think it would be in his best interest to stay out of Jon Jones' way, because the last thing he wants is to get clapped up by Jon Jones, and that will happen. Obviously, Lesnar has a history the door is still very much open for Lesnar to return to the octagon. Remember UFC 226 in 2018 when he entered the cage and confronted Cormier? That never happened. Lesnar doesn't do anything without intent. Cormier and Lesnar was very much a real thing we talked about, and the fight was targeted for summer of 19. Lesnar even re-entered the drug testing pool to prepare for a return. It didn't happen. He held the heavyweight title belt from 2018 to 2010. At 43 years old, Lesnar's window for a return to MMA is closing, but 43 isn't ancient for heavyweights. Yeah, usually the bigger guys in UFC have a longer career. Cormier's 41, just fought for the title. Werdum and Gustafsson in July are 43 years old. If Lesnar does come back, it's probably just for one big fight. Jones will be at the top of the list. Yeah, if Lesnar came back to UFC, the only person I would have an interest in seeing him fight would probably be Jon Jones, because I think Jon Jones would actually wipe the floor with Brock Lesnar. Jones tweeted out recently, news came out that Lesnar was a free agent. Jones tweeted to Lesnar that I'll beat your ass too. Jones called Lesnar out in 17, but that never gained momentum because Jones was suspended. To me, Jon Jones is the best fighter in UFC, if you ask me. Jones would be a top choice for a Lesnar return, but let's not forget Cormier. If there's any way to drag the now retired champion back, it would be to fight Lesnar. I don't think, exactly. I think that if Lesnar called out Cormier, I think Cormier wouldn't even hesitate and would come right back in to fight, because I think Lesnar's the guy that a lot of people want to fight because he talks a lot, and there's this big idea behind Brock Lesnar being this monstrous person. I think if there's any chance, it would be that. The analytics say there's a 20% chance Lesnar signs with the UFC. I don't think Lesnar wants to go to UFC. Honestly, I'm not sure that he can beat Cormier, and I really don't think he could beat Jones either. But I think maybe Brock Lesnar needs a little bit of a humbling in the octagon. Regardless, AEW has been what a lot of people have said. The analytical chances before I go over this is 15%. The only other wrestling promotion that would be a legit candidate would be AEW. Chris Jericho reportedly had backstage heat with Lesnar several years ago. Could they meet in the ring in the near future? Top matches would be Omega, Moxley, Rhodes, and Jericho, and that's it. Outside of that, I don't really see Brock Lesnar. AEW. I can't talk today. AEW does not rub me off as a place where Brock Lesnar would go. I think he's very selective about who he would fight. I don't think he's really good friends with Jericho. I don't know how he feels about Cody. He might like Moxley. Omega would probably be the best match on that list because I think that they could have a classic. AEW's trying to make a splash at WWE's real first competitor in 2 decades. What's a better way than to sign Lesnar? It would give AEW credibility, mainstream attention, ratings, and of course pay-per-view buys. It wouldn't even have to be anything long-term. It could be 1 or 2 story arcs with the top guys. A program with Omega would be intriguing. AEW doesn't have a shortage of money, plus TNT has been very supportive. It could be argued that AEW has more financial resources if the purse strings are open than even WWE. I absolutely agree with that. If AEW was able to strike and get Brock Lesnar, that's huge for them. And again, Tony Khan is the guy that runs AEW, but you got to keep in mind his father is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So if Vince McMahon's net worth is $1 billion, in all honesty, listen, $1 billion is a lot of money. But if Vince McMahon's net worth is $1 billion, Khan's got to be at least 7 or 8. So when WWE likes to do this thing where they overcompensate their wrestlers just to keep them from going to other promotions, AEW, if they really wanted to, could throw the whole entire kitchen sink at Brock Lesnar. Again, they're trying to play it smart, of course. TNT likes them as well, and TNT has much more money than WWE does. AEW is making the right strides. They're making a lot of friends within their group. I just don't see them going there. Again, it wouldn't be full-time, of course, but there are opportunities in AEW for guys for Brock Lesnar to fight. Kenny Omega would be the most interesting to me. I don't really need to see anybody else. But they say 15%. I don't see it happening. Bellator MMA. Do people still watch Bellator MMA? Oh, man. I don't even watch Bellator MMA. Analytics say 10%. Not going to happen. And I think probably the laughing stock out of all of this is New Japan Pro Wrestling. And it's not because New Japan is not a good promotion. It's just because everything that New Japan does, Brock Lesnar is the complete opposite of. Again, he would draw ratings and all of that. But I don't think NJPW has the resources to get Brock Lesnar. Lesnar's no stranger to Japan, though. He wrestled there in 2005 and 6. His first MMA fight was promoted by a Japanese company under the Dynamite brand. Analytics say 5% chance. That's not going to happen. And then 1 championship at the end. All of these are just alternatives to UFC. Outside of AEW, I don't think there's anywhere else Lesnar would go. I don't really know what we would see from him in a UFC octagon. So if you ask me, Lesnar stays put or he doesn't do anything. I think he's going to work out a contract with WWE. He's already been there for quite a while. I don't know if he wants to risk getting into the octagon. AEW could throw him the kitchen sink if they felt like it. But I'm not sure that that's something they're going to do. But that's how I feel about that. Now we're going to get to this next topic. Now this next topic is about MAURO Ranallo. MAURO Ranallo is leaving the WWE. That is right. There's backstage news on MAURO Ranallo leaving the WWE. The first thing I think of when I think of MAURO Ranallo is I think of mental health. I can speak as an advocate for myself and a lot of other people that have struggled with mental health. I thought that originally, before reading this article, that one of the reasons that MAURO Ranallo had made the decision was for mental health. And in a way it is, but it isn't. Me personally, we all owe MAURO Ranallo a tip of the hat. MAURO Ranallo, to me, was one of the best commentators WWE has seen in a long time, and I'm talking Jim Ross kind of long time. MAURO Ranallo was so great on NXT, and his catchphrases and everything that he brought, I just felt like MAURO Ranallo is so special. And will he ever come back? I'm not sure. We know that there's a history of unpleasant experiences with MAURO Ranallo in WWE. It was announced yesterday MAURO Ranallo has left WWE. The former NXT announcer confirmed the news on his Facebook page. I appreciate the opportunity I had to realize my childhood dream of working in sports entertainment. I wish WWE well in the future. Now I want to direct my focus and devote my time to my other projects and to my mental health charitable activities, which I have a lot of respect for, and the well-being of my mother and myself. We are told, as noted, Ranallo was away due to a family emergency. Wrestling Observer said it went back to his hometown of British Columbia, where his mother had been hospitalized. After missing a couple events, Ranallo came to the realization that he didn't want to do WWE anymore. He is expected to continue his duties with Bellator and Showtime Boxing. MAURO Ranallo has the talent as a ringside commentator that is very hard to find. We see all these guys, WWE has had quite a few good guys as commentators, but MAURO Ranallo just added something special to WWE. I can speak from that. The Cruiserweight Classic with Daniel Bryan was fantastic years back. NXT has been great with Mauro Ranallo, and he's definitely going to be missed from me. I thought, the mental health charity, you can tell Mauro Ranallo has well opened a lot of people about his bouts with depression and different kind of things like that. So it does not surprise me that he would do something like that. I'm all for that. I'm one of those people as well that has had a long history of depression and mental health issues as well. So for me, I can respect that more than anything, obviously, and of course taking care of his mother as well. He doesn't want to be in WWE anymore. Does he ever come back? It's possible. Meltzer noted Ranallo felt his focus should be towards a mental health advocate, absolutely, and the pressure of his weekly duties on NXT was something he decided to move away from. This was not considered a big blow-up, but Ranallo decided it was time to go. He first signed in 2015, he parted ways in 2017 for some time off. He then returned in summer 2017 to lead the NXT announce team, reportedly signing a multi-year deal at the time. Yesterday, WWE issued a statement on Ranallo's departure. We have mutually agreed to part ways. His passion and enthusiasm left an inedible and exciting mark with WWE and its fans, and we wish him the best in his future endeavors. Absolutely. Mauro Ranallo was one of a kind, and he's one of those guys that I think that we can all respect. And I felt that anytime, a lot of times people don't realize how important commentators are. A guy like Mauro Ranallo, to me, added so much more to what already was there with NXT. So we have to just tip our hats to him. Speaking of commentators, we have one coming aboard. Now, a couple of years back, a man by the name of Wade Barrett left the WWE as an in-ring performer. I believe part of it was him being frustrated. He did some things with acting. Mr. Wade Barrett made an appearance as an NXT commentator last week on NXT. And I can tell you this. Wade Barrett was one of the most underrated and underutilized guys WWE has had over the last decade. He is so great at what he does. He made the best out of the Bad News Barrett character. And I think commentary for Wade Barrett is going to be damn good, because if you heard anything about Wade Barrett last week, he's pretty special. Wade Barrett returned to WWE TV after 4 years last week on NXT. What is Wade Barrett negotiating a full-time return to WWE for? Wade Barrett had a run in WWE from 2010 to 15, didn't live up to its true potential. Many fans felt that Wade Barrett had main event star potential, but it didn't work the way many had hoped. Regardless, Wade Barrett left WWE on his own terms. He spent time away from wrestling. He returned with a one-off for Lucha Underground before they shut their doors. We know how that went. Before the pandemic, his presence in wrestling was that of a commentator for the NWA, and last week he was back on NXT. WWE and Wade Barrett are now in negotiation stages to work out a full-time return. Unfortunately, it will be only in the commentary role and not as an in-ring performer. Does that mean that we could never see Wade Barrett in the ring again? I don't think that. But if you heard Wade Barrett on commentary, there's something about Wade Barrett's accent that just, I don't know what it is. It's just so great. Wade Barrett is going to be great on commentary. Me personally, I would love to see him in the ring at some point. Does WWE give him that green light at some point? It's possible. But for right now, the expectation is that he's going to be a commentator. He met with officials. He's negotiating a full-time return as an announcer. That will definitely add a nice spark to the NXT commentary team. They stated that there's interest in possibly bringing him in as a commentator for NXT UK. I think that would be even more better. I personally don't watch NXT UK weekly. I know some people do, and I probably should get on that. He would fit UK great. There was an interest in Wade Barrett from WWE's side in early 2020. The indications that the interest is bringing him back wasn't for him to return as a competitor. Will he ever be open to an in-ring return again? His commentary presence was essential, and I think it will be great. His position and brand could change at any point. The draft sometimes features a shakeup in the commentary team as well. He's 40 years old. I think Wade Barrett coming back in the ring would be fantastic. But again, the expectation is commentary right now, and that's what it should be. I think that if WWE likes what they see from Wade Barrett and they continue to work on good terms, maybe Wade Barrett's feeling it and he's ready to come back in the ring. I'm all for that. But that's what we have right now, and that's the news that we have for today. Obviously, the biggest topic is Brock Lesnar free agency, which I believe he's going to return and sign to WWE. Ranallo is done with WWE, and Wade Barrett has come aboard. I appreciate everybody watching. As always, continue to stay safe.